Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Kleinhands, loving these music-themed episodes we've got going on. Indie rockers, 6 foot blonde are in the building. Hello!
Oh,
Welcome.
hi.
We're so glad you're here. I was just creeping just a little bit, adored your recaps of your summer that you posted on Instagram. And
Okay.
man, what there was a lot of crazy happening this summer, just in current events and in the world. But y'all had fun with yours. Julia got stuck on a ride at Universal, but it was
Yes.
okay because there was some butterbeer involved. She's the Gryffindor for anybody wondering in the Potter world. That's where
I
this
am.
happened. I don't know. Like I keep every time I do one of those tests, like those house sorting tests, they want to put me in either like Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff. So I'm somewhere
Yeah.
on why do they do that?
It's
Why?
always blank or
Well,
Hufflepuff,
okay,
I feel.
Yeah.
So
I'm not like I was a really big Harry Potter fan growing up, and I
Yeah.
will say like in the past 4 years, a lot of the knowledge has left me. But I think that if you have like two options, you're like Harry Potter, where Harry Potter has Gryffindor and Slytherin, and he's called
Oh.
and so he was like got to the choice he got to choose he wanted Gryffindor, and so that means too that you're special if you're in between two.
Okay.
So yeah, so
I'll
I think
I'll
that's
take
like a
it.
good thing. You're like Harry Potter. You're
I,
awesome.
we'll take it. I was reading Brian went chasing some waterfalls in Iceland, so we're jealous of that because that's a country on my bucket list.
oh
John grew
yeah,
some hot peppers. My husband would be obsessed with that. I'm not a pepper girly. I can't do it.
did
I can't
yeah,
do condiments or anything like
yeah.
too hot. I'm weird, but if
I
he
gotta
can
be
do it, more
careful.
power.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta be careful when he cooks for us. He loves to he
It's
did a
crazy.
gauntlet, a spicy pepper gauntlet that involved
No.
a lot of water and dairy,
I
I
think it
believe,
ended with
and
a ghost pepper,
it
I want to
did.
say. And he
Yeah,
like I think
I think
he was fine, which is
yeah.
crazy, which is a crazy concept.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
yeah.
would just look at him and be like, "Sir, what in the hot ones is this? I'm not doing
I
like
know. Well, I was saying like if
no."
we ever get the chance to do hot ones, I'm sending him.
Yeah.
I'm sending him and he's gonna do it for me. I don't, yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got it down.
yeah, exactly.
Zach, I saw, went to Indonesia and then essentially disappeared for a little bit and just
Yep.
vibed out, which is fine.
Life, chase some
Elliot,
dreams.
I know. Elliot, you saw some friends. You spent a lot of time in the car. You emailed a lot. That sounds a lot like my summer, too. Dom apparently just chilled out. So I glad that what do you think it took to make sure that you had the amazing summers that you had? Was it planning ahead or being more spontaneous and flexible?
I think in this business it's all about flexibility. So
Yeah.
um, we had our summers, scheduled out with tour. We toured for 2 months. We got back home, and then it's kind of been some R&R for the past month or so. We've been playing gigs still, and writing and all that, but it's definitely been a little bit more just in flex and doing. Some of us had plans. Obviously, you got to plan for Iceland.
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
your plane tickets and you're traveling with friends. But for me, because I was one that just chilled out and played music with my family. That was my time. My idea of end of summer was kind of floating from place to place. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think too, when there's tour, we're spending so much time focused on, preparing, and there's months leading up to practice and stuff like that. So when we have, 2 weeks available, I think we all try to just like book whatever we want, because it's our chance to kind of be, Julia herself, Dom himself,
Right.
etc. And so like that is, I think, why we all kind of have random things and it's like all over the place, is because there's different ways I think we want to spend that like 2 weeks that we have to just be who we are. And I think that's yeah. So for me, it's like going to Universal. For Dom, it's just chilling.
Yeah.
Place. That's literally it.
yeah,
Yeah. So
working and chilling. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's fantastic and really, really just insightful and so important. You kind of hinted that, the fact that being an individual was very important. On your bio, there's a line that says, working as a band has given us the opportunity to grow as individuals within our own unique creative
Yes.
dynamic. Now, it is a rare thing to feel like you can be an individual that does get the room to grow when you're part of a band. So, apparently what we just talked about, one part of the secret sauce to honing who you are as an individual while being part of the band is doing things like that on your own when you
Yeah.
do have the time. what other thoughts or feelings can you offer to any, let's say, musician listening that might be struggling with that a little bit?
For me, and I think this is also going into the individuals, like very personal for each person, because I think we all, experience our place in in being in a band in different ways. But for me, and I think for a lot of the members here, it's like we got to know each other as friends first. And when you do that, you understand and to put an individual's needs. And like I put Dom, I put you over your bass, and I put Elliot over guitar and Brian over drums and John over keys, because I know them first. And so it's really easy for me to then feel that way myself, and know that they also in turn trust me to, be myself first. And they always, like, there's ever a time where, I got to write lyrics or I got to do something, they're always going to say, are you up for it first? And that helps imply, that I'm an individual and I'm not just part of this big machine, but I'm an important part of this. And I think everyone else feels that way too. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really important. As we've gone, I think a part of what's helped us kind of grow as people and as, people that in a project like this together is respecting each other's own agency, kind of, I think is what you're talking about. And like, not just, who we are as musicians, like you said, but who we are as people. And knowing that we'll be at our best and we'll write our best and we'll play our best and we'll feel our best when we're able to look after ourselves and take care of ourselves. And I think that's something that, because as you're saying, we started as friends first, it's easier for us to do. I think it's oftentimes really easy to lose sight of that if you're not careful, when you're in, and when you're in the thick of it, when you're doing the thing. I think in terms of yourself, you can lose sight of that because you're so focused on the task at hand. And it's nice to have, basically 5 other people, a surrogate family to remind you to look after yourself. I think that's really important. So,
yeah. And I think too, we all trust each other. And so there's not a lot of micromanaging going on when we all trust each other. And because of that, I feel like it's a very big part of us feeling like individuals is knowing that we have that agency. And so no one's managing me, because, that I can make my own choices and do what I feel like is important. And that creates a unique sound, but also I think it's a good dynamic to have when we're spending all this time together. And, I personally hate being micromanaged. I think every person in the band could also say that they hate being micromanaged.
In any job. In any job.
In everything. Like, I think people always have problems with their managers because it's just micromanaging. And I think like that's the same way, like we'd never want to fall into that space of being like, John, you have to blah, 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 you play this guy, whatever. I know first that when we're writing, whoever plays their instrument is going to know how to navigate that the best.
Okay. So, and that is a form of respect. It's giving them the space to do what and what you want to show them you trust they can do well. I kind of wonder if this is a regional thing too, culturally, because I live in Minnesota now, but I've only lived in Minnesota for like 8.5 years. I grew up in Pittsburgh. We don't check on each other if we're okay.
The Midwest.
We don't do that. Like we're you good? Okay, bye. Like the proper answer to "Are you okay?" is okay. We don't really want to know how you're doing. We got to keep it moving. Because we got places to be, and it takes an hour to get what's like half a mile in a bigger city like that. Like we got to keep it moving. So when I moved to the Midwest, I'm like, and I started working here, I was like, why is everybody asking each other if they're okay, or if they have to if they have the capacity to do something before requesting something of that person? I'm like, what in the Barney and Friends is this? I was like, we're looking at our funeral, or we're looking at like our friends, and we're more communal here. We're building friendships, we're building relationships. And in a weird way, I thought it was condescending a bit at first, because it's like, I'm an adult. You don't need to ask like to go to the bathroom, like that kind of stuff. Like just being like, hey, I'm like coworker situation. I'm going to bounce. I'm going to take a break for a little bit. Are you okay? That type of situation. And I would look at them with like 8 heads and go, you're an adult, go. You gotta take a piss, go piss. Like, I don't, why are you asking me? Like, it just was odd because nobody would do that in Pittsburgh. And then I started to see it happen again and again and again. And I was like, oh, it's not like it's not meant to be condescending. It's not meant to treat somebody like a child. It's just, are you okay? It's legit.
It's very like Midwest. It's very Midwest. I think like people always say Midwesterners very like there's a smile that we do when we pass each other. It's like the Midwest smile. And like there's like very yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of things about being in the Midwest that can seem very fake. And I will say like there's parts of it that I think are in all places that you grow up, there's gonna be, like you said, in Pennsylvania, you have to in Pittsburgh, you say like
right.
You okay, you expect okay. And we have that here too. But I think, I don't know, I do think that a lot of it is genuine too, especially in your close groups here. It's very like, I don't know, we're open with mental health. And especially like, I think just being open about that is because I love people and I want to keep them around and I want to make sure that, you know, they're okay. And that's, I feel like, so if it's out of the ordinary to ask if someone's okay, I'd rather do it. But it took a long time to get there and to realize that. But yeah.
I'm still getting comfortable with it and still just understanding that it's part of the culture because, well, especially like you can easily take that whole like mincing words type thing as passive aggressive, or you could take it as, you know, I don't really mince words. I didn't grow up in a culture that minced words. I'm Italian American. Like our face speaks before we do. There's no hiding what's happening or what we're thinking here.
Right.
But y'all are doing it over here because you feel like it's that extra step toward taking care of how you interact with that individual. Like, no, it's not that I don't want to be honest. It's just, how can I really word this the best, most compassionate way? And it took me some time to see that. And again, not be freaked out by that.
Right.
And I was like,
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I also think like I went to the West Coast recently. I went to California for the first time and I was like, I love everybody here because they're just very honest and just like I was like, I'm obsessed. I was in San Francisco and I feel like the people I met there, I was like, I'm so obsessed with you. And I think growing up in the Midwest in a small town, part of that was it was a while of me going, it's all fake. It can't be real. Like this kindness can't be real, whatever. But then all of a sudden I go to the West Coast and people are being nice. And I'm like, oh, it's totally real. Because it's not the Midwest, but it's the same. It's just, you know, it's where
a little different.
You're used to it. Yeah, exactly. Just a little
It's a little different. Like I'll never hear I love you from my dad, but he'll fill my gas tank. It's just little things. And I mean, that might be East Coast culture. That might also be Italian American culture too. It's just, it's different. It's different and it's interesting to see. You're about to tour all over the Midwest. Since we're talking about the Midwest, let's get into that. Are we stoked?
Very.
Yes, we're very excited. Very excited. I think it's been a while since, it feels like it's been forever since we've toured.
It's been like
a month. Or 2 months, but it feels like forever just because I think we got so used to the schedule over the summer. And so going back to, it's been so long. I don't want to be rusty when really it's been months. Yeah.
No.
We'll be fine.
Very excited. We've got, like a lot of fun dates, opening up for some acts that we've, always loved, and also being able to open for our good friends in Missouri. I always love those opening slots because it's this collaborative aspect of being with other friends that you respect and love and have built relationships with. That's so fun. They've also got some really great bigger gigs back in our hometown in Indy, amongst other things. So yeah, just like really, it'll just be a really good, like, I think, like cathartic sort of traveling experience. So yeah.
Cool. What's your musical origin stories? I love asking any artist this, like when you first got into music, when you first fell in love with your respective instruments, anything you want to share.
As individuals or as a group, because I
all
feel
the
like,
above.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, I was a very, I don't know, just loud child. I had a lot of energy.
Really? We would have been friends.
I know, right? You would the singer of a band? No idea. No. So yeah, I remember I would run up and down my street in my swimsuit and like sing all the time, or like a tutu or like something, just like where the neighbors were like, you gotta you got to sign her up for something. Like you got
She needs to do something. Give her something to do.
right. And my neighbors like have heard me practice since I've been a kid because I sang so loud as a kid. I still sing loud. But I started doing theater, and I was in theater for a while, and then I thought I was too cool for theater. And so I switched to orchestra, and I did orchestra for 4 years, and I like stopped singing and I stopped doing the musicals. And then I got to high school again and was like, wait, I love this. And I forgot how much I love this. And I just need to go approach it in a different way. So I started approaching in ways of, I don't have to sing like a theater kid to like still love it. And I also
there's a difference
be in theater to, yes, totally. And to admire it. And there's other ways to sing. So then that's when I slowly found the band. Is when I joined college. I joined a music club, and I was able to sing the songs that I wanted to sing. And that's my first time ever singing on stage that wasn't in a costume as someone else. So and now I'm here. I fell in love with it, and now I'm here. So
Yay.
In terms of like group origin, I met all these folks through the music club that Julie was talking about. Elliot, our guitar player, founded it at IU Bloomington. It's called Bloomington Delta Music Club. Started as like a blues club, specifically for musicians to get together and play the blues. And it just like really blossomed. It like came out after like it started in like 2019, so right before the pandemic. And then around 2021, people started like do like these really big distanced jams where people would have masks on, be playing outside like really far away from each other, but we have our instruments and our amps, and we make music. And we all met in that environment with one another. I went to the same high school as Elliot, who started the club. So then he got me connected, and we all just sort of coalesced in that club together. We started playing. They played a show. I say they because I missed one. I joined after the first gig, so they had one gig without me, and they played at, I think, an Earth Day event for the university. And then I got the phone call on my birthday saying, "Would you like to join the band?" And I said,
"That's a good present."
Oh yeah, best present I've received, I'd argue. But so that's kind of roughly how we all met. Individual relationships kind of weave themselves through. Julia's brother is in the band. Our drummer Brian went to the same high school as them. I obviously knew our guitar player Elliot from high school, and then Zach, our other guitar player, actually met all of us through the music club. So yeah, it's the brief version of it.
It's a long.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So many
situations, but
it was kind of a happy accident. We kept going after that. So
yeah, every musician that I've ever spoken with has a different story for that, whether it comes to being a solo artist or being part of a band. They've all got different ways of how they fell into it. I love it. And they've got different ways when it comes to how they do what they do in the studio and construct everything and put it together. Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the writer of the group. You're the one who at least does the bulk anyway, I think, of the lyric writing. What sorts of stories and themes can we find in 6 Foot Blonde for anybody that doesn't know you guys yet?
It's a good question. I think it's a lot of the lyrics that I wrote have come from moments from 4 years ago that I had just poems in my notes. And also from when we sat down with, like, someone brought me a melody of or some chords, and I wrote some lyrics there on the spot. So I think it's really a bunch of different stories from the past, like, 4 years of my life. So specifically college, I spent 4 years in college, and from, freshman through senior year, I had all these little moments of learning to write music, but also write lyrics. And so there's stories that feel very, like, young to me. Like, there's themes that are nostalgic and play on the playfulness that having, like, a crush on someone has, and like that gives, and that kind of sort of feeling. And then there's also, like, the nostalgia of the first heartbreak that you feel, and that being nostalgic, but also at the same time something that we can still apply to current everyday life and situations, even, 8 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. And then also, I think a lot of it is also learning about personal agency and learning to take matters into my own hands. I think I spent so much time in writing music, trying to be like, there's all this stuff coming at me, and I can't, I can't handle it. And then me realizing like I need to just take it into my own hands, and I have this power, and I have this pen, this paper, and I can, make my own story. And so a lot of our album, like the title of it, Ask Me How I Am, is me taking that power and saying like, I'm going to stop waiting for people to ask me how I am, but I'm just going to tell you, ask me how I am, and I'll tell you how I'm doing. And yeah, I think there's a lot that the music's about, but I think it's mostly it's coming of age, and it's going to be coming of age till the day I stop writing music, because I feel like I learn new things every day, and I try to put that into my music and our music.
And you're constantly growing as a person at any age.
Exactly.
I mean, really, those particular years, your high school, college, like obviously those are especially formative, and there's a lot going on in those particular set of years. But really, we're learning constantly at any age. I love the concept. I love the title. Ask Me How I Am. Makes sense with how passionate you are when it comes to mental health too, because they say that's one of the first, ways to really reach somebody who might be experiencing suicidal ideation, is just to flat out say, are you all right? Or are you thinking about this? So it's super insightful, and it makes tons of sense. What else should we be knowing about Ask Me How I Am for anybody that hasn't listened to it yet?
I'm trying to take lead on this one a little bit, at least pop in whenever you want.
Okay.
I think that the album, I spent a lot of time, we all did, Julia, like sitting with you and sort of understanding what these stories were and stories are. The album is a lot about, I think, as much as it is about nostalgia and stories, it's equally about reflection on yourself and looking inward. I think a lot of the stories that we tell in like the middle of the album and the latter half negotiate a lot of our present reality. Both, Julia, you sort of talk about your reality, like being a woman, and your reality of sort of negotiating that, coming into your own, as well as like the ideas of legacy, of family, and of understanding how you fit into something greater than yourself, sort of play into that. We do have a lot of themes, I think, of like that associate themselves with mental health through that. We've got like, I think Crazy Eyes is a good example. It's like a fun, lighthearted tune, but it's about finding someone else that sort of has that same level of, oh, you're just as crazy as I am, or, you can find someone that you sort of rely on in your sort of, crazier moments of your day where you feel like you're kind of losing it, and you can just like lean on someone else. And then similarly with Land Girl, feeling like you're not able to fit into a regular world, I think is a big theme in there. A lot of it is just, I think very reflective on not only where you were when we were writing it, but also sort of imbued then where all of us were also sort of negotiating our young lives as we were sort of working on the album. There was a lot going on in everyone's individual lives as we were writing it in the studio. Things shifted, lyrics changed to sort of, I think, adapt to that. So I think there's a lot of that in there, I think, to dissect and to pick apart.
I feel like there's a piece of almost every experience that one may experience. I'm saying that, that one person may go through in the span of like 1 year. And it's like, there's the feeling of feeling like you're alone, but then there's also the finding somebody. And then there's the like you said, the legacy thing, and being like, who am I in this bigger picture, when it comes to my family and all of this. And that's like just a portion of it. And then there's the other things, like feeling insecure and feeling like everyone has something beautiful and you don't, or feeling like you need validation, but also feeling good when you get it, but then also hating that when you get validation, all these things that people experience. And I think a lot of it is like like you said, my experience being a woman, and a lot of those feelings of being insecure and feeling like I have to hold up this different standard they're all things that I think so many people experience. And it's a giant, you know, it's a big, broad spectrum of what it could be, but it's still, I feel like, is universal, and it all kind of comes together as one. I don't know. I said that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think a lot of what the music does is, of course, it tells your stories, but I think you did a really good job, Julia, with the lyrics of making it so it's not just about yourself as much as it is about your story. It's about other people as well, and anyone can sort of relate to it. And I think that's the beautiful part of music, is that you can share something super personal with you, thinking that no one's going to understand you, and then people reach out and say, this song means something to me because I can understand it and relate to it. It's the coolest thing. Like, I think I've experienced it when we've shared our music with people, and I'm sure you've experienced it.
That's why I like writing music too, is because I feel like I do this because I am so passionate about making other people feel heard. And I do that by putting out my own experiences. And I like wanted to be a doctor my whole life, because when I joined college, I was like, this is the way to help the most people. And then I learned that actually there's so many ways you can do that. And one of them is just by speaking about your own experiences. Period. And music is a really awesome experience. I'm just really lucky that I get to do it through music. But also, like, we're very passionate about mental health, and it's such a horrible and common issue in so many people, and it's not an issue because it's so common. And I want people to feel heard by me talking about my own experiences. I want people to go, wait, not alone. I've got this. It's going to be okay. Or even feel like they can reach out to me, to anybody in their life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. I think that's what all of us really want at the end of the day. It's just for things to be a little bit easier on each other. Yeah. And it's hard to see that when, we're inundated with the opposite in all different forms of media all the time. That is a big part of what I think Ask Me How I Am is really cool. It is about harnessing your own power and finding your way through it. It could have been called You're a Wizard, Harry. I'll just throw that out.
You know what?
Opportunity.
It could have been.
Dang, we should have done that. We should have done that.
It could have been.
Gosh. I feel like we'd have to deal with some trademark things, but I feel like it'd be worth it. Yeah.
Man, I'd be fine pissing off J.K. Rowling.
I'm okay with that. I'm just fine with that.
I'd be okay with that. Whatever. Like, we're all right. We get it.
Okay. I can take it.
We know tour is coming soon. We're stoked for that. Anything else that we're excited for? Anything else that you're looking to share?
Yeah, we also just announced that we're going to be doing some opening dates with our good buddies High Fade. Been from Scotland. We got connected with them, and we'll be joining them on some opening slots in March. So that's a ways away. But mainly, we've got a really big show coming up in Indianapolis, in Indianapolis at the end of the year at our New Year's Eve. It's not on New Year's Eve, but it's close to New Year's Eve. It's after Christmas, we do it every year. It's called 6 Foot Sparkle. It's pretty fun. But that's our big sort of blowout for the end of the year. So we're really excited.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both for being with me. We're excited for all of it. We can't wait for what's to come.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us, Rob.
Thank you.